hint of layoffs for the sheriff's office, the answer is unequivocally no, because we don't have the staffing that to say, well, if we get rid of these 10 probationary employees for 3 months, and July 1 we'll get some more, and then we'll just continue the public safety, because it's hard to find professional, dedicated law enforcement officers that want to live here, raise their family here, and become part of our fabric of the community. And that's where we are right now. We're only 2 deputy sheriffs away from being fully staffed. We're getting to where we should have been years ago. And now we're here, and I'm not going to even address layoffs. If it's a board's decision of layoffs, then it's a board's decision, and then I'll follow your direction.
But no one's trying to direct your staffing levels. That is your prerogative. I think what our responsibility is we've got to balance it all. Your budget, the DA's budget, animal care and control, we've got to do it all. And so we're attempting to hold all departments accountable as to how they, and how you orchestrate that is, particularly in your case, being an elected official, is not something we want to get into or micromanage. But given that we have the budgetary responsibility, I think it is up to you to look at your budget and tell us what you can do to reduce costs. If you're calling it layoffs, call it layoffs. If you're calling it buying less equipment, it's buying less equipment. That's not something that we want to get into, and we don't have the authority to do that. But to the degree that we're holding the departments earlier in the day accountable, I think we need to hold you accountable. I'm glad you brought up the public, because I think really you've sort of hit the nail on the head. I think this is a discussion that the public that you need to have with the public. It's not about really the supervisors. It's about, we don't have enough money in society to do the very essential services that we need done. And so we need to have that discussion with the public, all of us. And I've been saying that since I've been on the board. We need to go community to community and talk about what there's not revenue to do. Get input from people about what they consider essential services and carry forth. If the taxpayers want to pay more, then they may be able to have the services that they're accustomed to. But this current bleeding that we're going through is that it is no longer business as usual. It can't, the public is not going to get what they're accustomed to even in very rudimentary ways. And I think that that's a wake-up call for all of us. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I don't see that we have any other choice.
Supervisor Smith, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's take this to the public, because
Great.
I meet in every one of your districts on a regular basis with the citizens who want to meet and discuss these issues. I've been very instrumental with the California State Sheriff's Association, changing channels a little bit here, in our lobbying efforts. It wasn't a coincidence when Jennifer discussed the fees or the grants that are coming through for law enforcement. It wasn't a coincidence that the board, our state legislature and governor said these are going to go through law enforcement, because we've all been on the phone with our state legislatures and our federal congressmen to discuss these things, and so now they've come through. The monies are coming through, because that's where I see my responsibility of making sure that we have a sheriff's office which is funded appropriately to provide public safety for Mendocino County. And that's where we are right now. I believe, with the exception of having resident deputies in Colville right now, I believe we are providing the adequate public safety to the residents of this county.
But I think every other department would tell us they're not funded appropriately. So, we really are going to have to sort of merge this discussion and think of what's realistic. And I think you're doing a great job. You're out there, I see you on the coast as much as I see you here in Ukiah. I think you do a great job. I think you're very dedicated. But, what we have to do is balance the budget. We've got to make the numbers all fit. And I think everyone has to do their share to figure out how we're going to do that. And if the service delivery has to be reduced, it's being reduced. It's being reduced everywhere. So I don't think we can go on assumptions from the past. I think the auditor's office has fewer staff than she had back 10 years ago. So some departments are not even operating on, we just are holding the line. They've been cut, and they've been cut, and they've been cut, and that's all they've known for 2 to 3 years. So I don't know that we can use that as a model to in extraordinary times to go forward. So I think,
if you don't mind me, Supervisor, let's talk about the homicide that just occurred in Fort Bragg. We had a homicide occur 2 weeks ago. I assure you that if the sheriff's office could have prevented a gentleman from going to another man's house and shooting him in the chest, we would have prevented it, but we didn't have any knowledge of it. And so it wasn't a whodunit. We knew at the very beginning who committed this homicide. We did. We've conducted the investigation. We've followed through. He's in jail. And it still cost my budget almost $15,000 on a very basic homicide. With all due respect to planning and building, with all due respect to other county departments, I don't believe they have the responsibility of investigating homicides. I don't believe they have the responsibility of making sure that we have a safe and humane jail in this county, to make sure that we don't have lawsuits coming through county council and going to the board of supervisors. I take my responsibilities very seriously, Supervisor.
I know you do.
And we're not hiring people to stand in a corner, and we're not paying people to drive in circles and do nothing. We have professional law enforcement officers. We have professional correctional deputies. I have a professional command staff that take their responsibilities seriously. And look at our county's crime. We're not on the front page of the paper saying crime's out of control. Our guys and gals are out there doing the job. Okay. And we're out there, we're making sure that the bad people go to jail like they're supposed to, and they go to court and the judges sentence them, and we follow through with their commitment. So we're doing our job. So if there is going to be a paradigm shift, maybe I'm too old school. The paradigm shift is not going to be changing the enforcement of the laws. The paradigm shift is going to have to be through the judicial system as a whole, or society as a whole, to change the way that laws are to be enforced. But as long as the regulations are there, as long as a penal code is there, as long as a health and safety code is there, and long as the state constitution demands that the sheriff of the county investigate felonies, I don't know how much more leeway we have on that.
No, I'm sure you will.
Okay, I'm going to cut this off a little bit, and we can talk about the philosophies all month long here. What we're here today is to come up to, we have basically running about $1 million budget deficit to finish out this year. Now, for the audience out there, probably starting July 1st, we're going to start out with a structural debt somewhere between $7 and $8 million. So we're just trying to come up with something to get us by this last 4 months out of this year. And from what I've heard, basically you're saying, no, you don't have nothing to offer up as far as, first of all, do you feel that this budget shortfall projection of the $1,100,000 is a good number that you will end this fiscal year with, Sheriff?
I believe we're going to continue to reduce overtime, and I believe you're going to continue to reduce mileage as it is right now, and I'm going to hope that McLema and the county can work out something. So I don't think we're going to be there. I think we're going to be lower.
So you think the number will be lower?
I do.
So this is a high number. Okay.
I do.
Okay, just a comment I want to make. We always talk about the 47 patrol deputies, but in your sheriff budget you have over 103 positions. If it come to layoffs or any cutbacks, why does it have to be the deputy on the street? Why can't it be one of the backup personnel or something like that? Because, that is what, when a person's out there in the middle of the night being robbed, they want a deputy there. They don't really want somebody that works in the office. So, but it always seems like the layoffs or the non-hirees is for the deputies on the street. If it come to layoffs, the worst case scenario, which certainly is the worst case, if it come to that, is there any looking at not the patrol deputies, but some backup staff?
Well, I can go and we can discuss history in this county, and we can discuss 1986 with Sheriff Shea, and Sheriff Shea made a decision to close the Willits office and to close the Fort Bragg office. And Sheriff Shea made a decision to reduce the mileage of deputy sheriffs to 50 miles per shift, which logically and it didn't always work out very well, and logistically it didn't work well at all. So the answer, Mr. Chair, is no, it doesn't have to be deputy sheriffs. But as Supervisor McCowan brought up in his question to me, if we lay off a secretary, then who's going to answer the phone? Am I going to get a deputy sheriff to answer the phone? Because the public still needs to call